Hello, and welcome back to Political Activation, episode 45. Today, we're going to be talking about Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate Majority Leader. Mitch McConnell was elected to the United States Senate in 1984 from Kentucky. He's a senator from Kentucky. He was a strong supporter of Republican values and conservative values, and he seemed to support populist governments at the time as well. Currently today, he very much uses the filibuster, which is obviously a delay, a purposeful mode of delaying legislation on the floor to actually be voted on and passed through the Senate to the government's office, onto the president's desk to be eventually signed into law. What he does is obstruct the very rules and committee assignments in order to prevent a measure of legislation to reach the president's desk. Now, the way that he does this is by making long speeches and intentionally sabotaging the vote itself and reaching a disagreement on the bill that's being debated on the floor, typically by using these tactics of the filibuster, which only serve to prevent the passage of many bills and many laws, potential laws that can be passed in the executive, on the executive branch. Now, Mitch McConnell has been doing this for a long time, and this isn't anything surprising. I mean, he even did this during the Obama administration, when he was trying to pass laws and get laws through Congress. Mitch McConnell would purposefully, obviously vote no on these laws, on most of the Democratic proposals, but would also attempt to disrupt the process by using the filibuster to achieve his own agenda. Many people think that's appalling. I purposely think that's appalling. However, it does have a huge impact on Congress, on the legislative process. It does have a huge impact on the process in which the United States goes about passing bills into law, which we all know a bill is written and it has to be, it has to be pretty much evaluated on all different ends of the spectrum. And typically, Republicans have to view it in a certain way and make adjustments to it that they see fit, and Democrats also have to view the bill and make adjustments to it as well to see what fits their agenda the best for their constituents, because they are elected officials. And for that purpose, it seems that everyone would be in agreement and purposefully wanting to serve the best interests of the people that they serve in their constituent districts. However, there are some senators, such as McConnell, who use these tactics of the filibuster in order just for personal gain, possibly to help a president that they currently work for. Maybe they have special loyalty for these presidents. Even during the Trump administration, McConnell was very buddy with Trump, because, as we saw in the media, social media, so on and so forth, a lot of different images with Mike Pence and Trump and McConnell together were seen in the Oval Office. Obviously, they had a lot of meetings together, maybe speaking about different ways of achieving personal agendas that may be pertinent to a negative outcome. And seeing those social media images from that particular time in the geopolitical landscape, that's a a discombobulation of the legislative process, which has worked so well. And the filibuster, people are calling for it to be abolished. People are calling for the filibuster to be banned from Congress. And McConnell just simply shrugs it off, being the minority leader currently, because we have a majority Democrat in the Senate and in the House. But being the Republican leader, it seems that he continues to block any laws from being passed, whether it be environmental reform, whether it be climate change reform, whether it be tax cuts, whether it be crises at the border, immigration issues, things along those lines. It seems that there is some sort of blockage at the process of the legislation that currently exists because of the fact Mitch McConnell attempts to use the filibuster in a way that only serves him and his personal interest, possibly his donors. Maybe there is something there's something related to his donors that may be in the way of blocking this particular avenue in which he uses these tactics. He attempts to use the filibuster to stop these laws from being passed, which makes sense to his donors, but doesn't make sense to the majority of the people who just need to see a lot of laws joining together and being passed by the president. The president must get things done, and he's just simply he's preventing the president from getting successes in the Oval Office and in the executive leadership that is required by many of, obviously, all presidents want to get laws passed. That was one of Obama's main critiques, was he had a negative relationship with the Congress. And it seems Biden has been, traveling along those same examples by, revealing his plan of the Build Back Better agenda. It seems to be a great plan. It seems to be a bipartisan, lawful way of tackling the economic crises currently going on in the country, and the social issues, the fiscally, I like to say the fiscal conservative issues and the social conservative issues in the country, and that seems like a package that will alleviate some of the various issues happening in the country. And Mitch McConnell, he claims that it's simply a way to raise the debt ceiling or something like that. And that's sort of the opposite of what that plan is. And many people think that Mitch McConnell is being dishonest when he says the Democrats want to raise the debt ceiling. Obviously, that's not what we want to do. I mean, the Democrats seem to want to just obtain economic equality for everyone and social equality for everyone, because everyone obviously doesn't have the same power with regard to social equality and other ways of framing, even civil rights. Racism is still rampant, and Mitch McConnell exacerbates the racist conversation in a way that Trump usually did when he was in office previously, and Joe Biden seems to be sick of it. Joe Biden, he's proposing all these plans, the Build Back Better agenda, plus the American Rescue Plan, American Families Plan, all these different packages of laws that are in an attempt to fix the issues that were going on during the Trump administration that Mitch McConnell helped to exacerbate and extremely continued these policies of the Trump administration that only created chaos in the government and in the country. And that's why, Joe Biden is on the verge of creating these policies that are pretty much equal to everyone, pretty much fair to everyone, and universally acclaimed. When you look at the American Rescue Plan, That seems like it's a social, fair, peaceful plan that many people can get behind. But obviously, Republicans don't feel the same way, or at least Mitch McConnell doesn't feel the same way. He's a senator from Kentucky, and obviously, being the Republican leader, most of other Republicans are going to follow him, whether it be in the Senate and the House. Senate obviously has more power than the House. And so, being that he has so much power, and he's been in the Senate for so long, since 1984, it seems as if he's preventing all of Joe Biden's plans from going through to the finish line. Now, I understand there are a few Republicans that do support Joe Biden's plan, and they don't support the Trump plan. But it seems like Trump will run in 2024, at least that's what people are claiming. And if that's the case, that's maybe the reason for McConnell and most Republicans to be on that side. But obviously we're going to see going forward what happens with that particular plan. And we're going to see how Joe Biden matches up to, Obama's plans that he eventually got passed. The Affordable Care Act was one of his greatest accomplishments. But we see now this Republican opposition fiending for conservative policies to be passed by a Democratic president, when we know a Democratic president would not consider any of these plans to cut back on environmental justice, cut back on racial justice, or anything along the social political lines. We aren't going to see that. We're going to see more government intervention in places like Afghanistan. We're going to see more government intervention in places like China. So that's what this whole thing is about. But people are, many Republicans are moving backwards. They're stuck in time. They're stuck in the Trump era. They're stuck in wherever they initially found a loyalty that became what the political, affirmations were. And so, it's a matter of progressive change that must occur from this very point in time in order for, Mitch McConnell and other Democrats and other Republicans to create change in the right direction, as opposed to just moving in the wrong direction, moving backwards in time to block some of these important laws and these important legislations that are pretty essential to the average person. Even many of there are so many different ways of tackling these issues with regard to politics. You can even see how the Republicans don't like the leadership of the current Democratic administration. I mean, you see Marjorie Taylor Greene calling for the impeachment of Joe Biden. Now, why would she call for the impeachment of Joe Biden? Is she really against any of Joe Biden's policies? Probably not. Is she just against the Democratic leadership because of the fact that they represent the Democratic leadership? Possibly. However, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the epitome of a failure to launch in terms of generating any support for a conservative mode of values, opinions, belief systems, and thoughts. And it just seems she just seems to be cannon fodder for joining in on conservative values that Mitch McConnell represents as the leader of the party. It's sort of a failure. Well, we know that Mitch McConnell is the second leader of the party. Trump is the first leader of the Republican Party, but he's not going to go away in politics because he might run in 2024. But until he loses, until these Republicans back off Trump's agenda, and until Trump backs off politics, we aren't going to see a decline in any of those Republicans anytime soon. We're just going to see a bunch of blockages in legislation. We're just going to see a bunch of wrong moves made by the Republican leadership, and that's going to be what their plan is going forward. While the Democrats continue moving forward in a positive direction and keep proposing policies that affect the average worker in a great way, in a good way, we're going to see the stalemate between the two, unless we have more Republicans standing their ground and saying we will support the Democratic agenda, we will support the Democratic policies, but that's going to take some courage and some bravery, which we obviously know that they don't. Many of these Republicans don't have. They don't have a backbone. They don't have any way of standing their ground. It's either that or they're too loyal to a bad leader such as Mitch McConnell, and Mitch McConnell is loyal to someone like Trump, who's only in it for personal gain. And that's why we're seeing the stalemate that we currently see. But that's all I wanted to say on that topic. Thank you all for listening, and have a great day.